It's a universal experience, isn't it? That sting of being overlooked, ignored, or pushed aside, it cuts deep. There's no denying the pain it brings. It feels personal, like a direct blow to your sense of worth. And in those moments you might wonder, why me? What have I done to deserve this? But let's take a step back. What if that hurt isn't meant to destroy you, but to shape you? What if being ignored is not a punishment, but a catalyst? You see, the pain of being ignored has a peculiar way of forcing us to look inward. It nudges us into the uncomfortable space of self-reflection, a space we might otherwise avoid. In the silence of neglect, there's no distraction. It's just you alone with your thoughts, your doubts, and your fears. And while that sounds intimidating, it's also the beginning of something profound. Because here's the truth: we spend so much of our lives looking outward, seeking approval, validation, and acknowledgement from others. We measure our worth by how others perceive us, by the praise they offer, or by their willingness to make space for us in their lives. But when that approval is absent, when the world suddenly turns its back, we're left with no choice but to turn inward. And that's where the real work begins. Think about it. The pain you feel when someone ignores you, it isn't just about them. It's a reflection of the expectations you've placed on them to fulfill something within you. Maybe it's the expectation to be seen, to be loved, to be understood. But why are those expectations there in the first place? Why do we place the keys to our happiness in someone else's hands? This pain, this feeling of being overlooked, is an invitation to reclaim those keys. It's asking you to look at yourself, to identify the parts of you that still crave external validation, and to start letting go of that need. It's asking you to understand that your worth is not defined by anyone else's ability or inability to see you. Of course, this doesn't mean the pain disappears overnight. Growth rarely feels good in the moment. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it often feels like you're walking through a storm without a clear path. But remember, the most profound transformations come from those moments of discomfort. It's in the breaking down that we're rebuilt. You might not see it now, but being ignored is giving you a gift, the gift of time and space to focus on yourself. To ask the hard questions: what do I really value? Who do I want to be, independent of others' opinions? What parts of myself need nurturing, attention, and love? These are the questions that lead to growth, to strength, and to a deeper understanding of who you are. And as you begin to answer those questions, something remarkable happens. The sting of being ignored starts to lose its power. You realize that your worth has never been tied to someone else's acknowledgement of it. It's always been within you, waiting for you to see it. The world may not change, the people who ignored you might never come around. But you've changed, and that makes all the difference. So if you find yourself in the depths of that pain, take heart. It's not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a transformation, a chance to grow stronger, to become more self-reliant, and to uncover the profound truth of your own value. The pain is temporary, but the lessons it offers are enduring. In the end, being ignored doesn't diminish you, it refines you. It pushes you to let go of what you thought you needed from others and discover the vast reservoir of strength within yourself. And that strength, that's where your true power lies. There's a strange thing about being ignored. It feels like a void, doesn't it? A space where once there was connection, attention, or warmth. And yet within that space there's an opportunity. It doesn't feel like it at first. It feels like rejection, like being dismissed or diminished. But what if, instead of focusing on the absence of others, we turned our attention to the presence of something greater, our inner strength? When someone ignores you, it often feels like they're taking something away from you. Perhaps it's their time, their validation, or the comfort of knowing you matter to them. But here's the shift in perspective. What they've taken away isn't the essence of who you are. What they've taken away is only the illusion that you needed them to feel complete. And once that illusion is stripped away, what remains is the raw, unfiltered you. That's where the real beauty lies. Imagine for a moment that being ignored is like standing in a clearing after a storm. The air is sharp and cold, the ground feels unfamiliar beneath your feet. But there's clarity in that space, there's stillness. And in that stillness you start to notice things you didn't before. The rhythm of your own breath, the strength of your own heartbeat, the quiet, persistent voice within that's been trying to reach you all along. You see, when others ignore you, they inadvertently create room for you to notice yourself, to reconnect with the parts of you that have been overshadowed by the noise of external relationships. The pain of being overlooked isn't just about what's missing. It's about what's waiting to be discovered. So ask yourself, who am I when no one is looking? What do I truly value, independent of anyone else's opinions? These are not easy questions. They can feel unsettling because they force us to confront the parts of ourselves that we might not fully understand. But they are essential questions. They lead us to a place of authenticity, a place where we no longer measure our worth by how others treat us. Now, I'm not saying that being ignored doesn't hurt. Of course it does. It touches that vulnerable part of us that wants to be seen and acknowledged. But if you can sit with that pain, even for a little while, you'll find something unexpected beneath it. You'll find resilience. You'll find a deep well of inner strength that isn't shaken by someone else's lack of attention. The truth is, being ignored can be a form of liberation. It frees you from the constant need to perform, to please, or to conform to someone else's expectations. It allows you to focus your energy inward, to build a foundation of self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation. And once you've built that foundation, you become unshakable. You stop chasing after people who don't see your value because you already know it yourself. Think about this. The universe often works in ways we don't immediately understand. What feels like rejection might actually be redirection. Perhaps the person who ignored you wasn't meant to stay in your life. Perhaps their absence is making room for someone who will truly see and value you for who you are. Or perhaps, just perhaps, their absence is teaching you that you don't need anyone else to validate your existence. In the silence of being ignored, there's an invitation to grow, to evolve, to become. And though it may feel uncomfortable, even painful, it's also an opportunity, a chance to step into your own power and redefine your sense of self. So the next time you feel the sting of being overlooked, take a moment to breathe. Shift your focus from what's missing to what's present. And remember, your worth isn't tied to someone else's attention. It's yours to define, yours to embrace, and yours to carry forward. And here's the beauty of it. Once you understand this, truly understand it, the actions of others lose their power to hurt you. Because you'll know deep in your core that you are enough exactly as you are. And that, my friends, is the kind of strength that no one can take away. When someone ignores you, it can feel like an affront to your very existence. It's as if they're saying, without words, that you don't matter, that your presence is negligible. That sting is sharp, personal, and immediate. But what if the act of being ignored isn't about you at all? What if it says more about them than it does about your worth? People act from their own realities, their own stories, their own struggles. Someone ignoring you may be carrying a burden you cannot see. They might be overwhelmed, distracted, or lost in their own world of uncertainties and fears. And while it's natural to interpret their behavior as a slight, it's worth pausing and asking, is this really about me so often? The answer is no. Their actions are a reflection of their state of mind, not your value as a person. But let's take this a step further. Even if someone's choice to ignore you stems from a deliberate intent to wound or belittle, the deeper truth remains their actions cannot define you. You are not what someone else thinks of you, nor are you the fleeting priority in another person's day. Your worth is not contingent on someone's acknowledgement or approval. In fact, allowing their neglect to dictate your emotional state only hands them power they do not deserve. Now, this is not to suggest that we should accept mistreatment or dismiss our feelings entirely. Ignoring is often a subtle form of manipulation or control, designed to destabilize you, to make you question yourself. But here's the thing, the moment you stop seeking answers from the person ignoring you, you reclaim your power. Their behavior no longer controls you because you've shifted your focus inward, to the only place where your true worth resides. What's fascinating is how this dynamic changes when you stop reacting. Silence has a strange way of unsettling people who expect their actions to provoke. By not giving them the reaction they seek, you maintain your balance, your peace, and your dignity. Their silence then becomes their burden to bear, not yours. And in this way, being ignored becomes less of an injury and more of a revelation, a glimpse into their own struggles, insecurities, or lack of emotional maturity. Imagine standing in a room where someone has turned their back to you. The natural instinct is to reach out, to try to turn them around, to seek validation. But what if instead you turned and walked away? Not out of anger or bitterness, but out of a quiet understanding that their choice to look elsewhere doesn't diminish your light. You remain as you are, whole and radiant, regardless of where their gaze falls. And this shift in perspective leads to freedom. You no longer feel the need to chase, to convince, to prove. You realize that your worth isn't up for negotiation. It's not something someone else can grant or take away. It simply is. And this realization is profoundly liberating. It means you can approach relationships from a place of strength rather than need, connection rather than dependency. By refusing to let someone's indifference define you, you send a powerful message to them, yes, but more importantly, to yourself. The message is this: I see myself, even if you don't. It's a declaration of self-respect, a reminder that you are whole and complete, regardless of how anyone else chooses to act. Life will always bring encounters with people who challenge our sense of self-worth. That's inevitable. But each encounter is an opportunity to reaffirm your inner strength, to remind yourself of the unshakable foundation within. Their actions may cause ripples on the surface, but they cannot touch the depths of who you truly are. So the next time you feel the sting of being ignored, let it be a moment of clarity rather than confusion. A chance to separate their actions from your worth, and above all, remember the light within you doesn't dim because someone chooses not to see it. That light is yours to nurture, yours to cherish, and it shines just as brightly whether or not anyone else notices. When people ignore you, it can feel deeply isolating, almost as though a wall has been built between you and the rest of the world. But there is something profound to discover in that solitude. Moments like these are invitations, not punishments. They are the universe's way of drawing you inward, urging you to listen to the quiet voice within, the one we so often drown out with the noise of everyday life. In our constant pursuit of connection and validation, we often overlook the richness of solitude. When others turn away, it's natural to want to fill that void with explanations, distractions, or even anger. But if you resist that impulse, if you lean into the stillness instead, something remarkable happens. You begin to hear yourself again. The silence that seemed so oppressive at first becomes a space of clarity, a sanctuary where you can reconnect with your own essence. Being ignored can teach you one of life's most profound lessons, that your peace or sense of self cannot depend on anyone else. Think about how often we anchor our happiness to external things, people, achievements, or circumstances. And when those things shift, as they inevitably do, we feel unmoored. But the truth is, the foundation you seek is already within you. The act of being ignored, painful as it may feel, can serve as a gentle nudge to return to that inner foundation. And let's consider this from another angle. Sometimes when others ignore you, it's their way of showing you that they cannot meet you where you are. Not everyone is equipped to value the depth, the uniqueness, the truth of who you are. That's not a reflection of your inadequacy, but rather of their limitations. Their silence is a kind of mirror, revealing where they stand in their own journey. And once you see it that way, you no longer feel the need to chase after their attention. You can let them be, just as you let yourself be. But here's where it gets truly transformative. When you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to move through the world with a quiet confidence, an inner radiance that doesn't depend on outside acknowledgement. This isn't about pretending not to care or shutting yourself off emotionally. It's about cultivating a deep sense of self-respect and knowing that you are enough as you are. From this place of wholeness, you no longer feel threatened by someone's indifference. You see it for what it is, a fleeting moment, a passing shadow, nothing more. In fact, the irony is that when you detach from the need to be noticed or validated, people often take notice. They sense the shift in your energy, the calm self-assurance that doesn't demand their attention but naturally draws it. This is the paradox of life. The more you release your grip on something, the more freely it flows to you. Now, this isn't to say you should shut people out or avoid meaningful relationships. Connection is a vital part of being human. But there's a difference between sharing your life with others and handing over the keys to your happiness. When you learn to stand in your own light, relationships become richer, freer, and more authentic. You engage with others not from a place of need, but from a place of mutual respect and understanding. The moments when you feel ignored are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of a deeper understanding, a chance to reconnect with yourself in ways you might have overlooked. This is your opportunity to grow, to find peace within, and to let go of the weight of others' opinions. When you stop allowing their silence to define you, you discover that your voice, your essence, has always been enough. So, if you find yourself in that space of silence, embrace it. Let it teach you, guide you, and remind you of the unshakable truth: your worth is not up for debate. It doesn't waver with someone else's attention or approval. It simply is. Stand tall in that knowing, and you will find a strength that no one can take away. When you're ignored, when the world seems to turn its back on you, it can feel like the ground beneath you has been pulled away. It's easy to let anger, resentment, or even despair take over. But what if we could see this experience differently? What if being ignored wasn't rejection at all, but instead a sign that you're being prepared for something greater? Life has a way of stripping away the noise when it wants to get your attention. And sometimes the noise includes the people around you. When others ignore you, it can create a space, a quiet, uncomfortable space, but it's in this space that you have the opportunity to grow. It's a pause in the rhythm of your life, a chance to reassess, to reflect, and to realign. You see, when we're constantly surrounded by validation or attention, it's easy to lose sight of who we truly are. We become performers in our own lives, playing roles that others expect of us. But when that attention disappears, when you're left alone with yourself, there's no one to perform for. You're left with the raw, unfiltered version of you, and that's where the magic happens. That's where the real work begins. Think of this moment as a chrysalis, a time of transformation. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying in the company of others. It retreats alone into the stillness of its cocoon. It's in that solitude that the caterpillar transforms, shedding what it once was to become something entirely new. And isn't that what being ignored often forces us to do? To shed the layers of our identity that were built on others' opinions and find the version of ourselves that doesn't need external approval to exist. But this isn't an easy process, is it? It's uncomfortable. It's messy. It can feel like everything you once relied on has disappeared. And yet this discomfort is where your strength is born. When no one is there to applaud you, you learn to clap for yourself. When no one validates your worth, you find the courage to believe in it anyway. This is how resilience is built, not in the presence of others, but in their absence. Now, here's the part that's truly remarkable. When you emerge from this period of solitude, you'll find that the world hasn't rejected you at all. It's simply been waiting for you to catch up to the person you're meant to become. The people and opportunities that are aligned with your true self will appear, and those that aren't will fall away. And when you stand in this new version of yourself, you'll look back on this time of being ignored not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because here's the truth: being ignored is often a redirection. It's life's way of saying, you're focusing on the wrong things. Maybe it's time to stop chasing after people who don't see your value. Maybe it's time to stop tying your happiness to things outside of you. Maybe it's time to turn inward and ask, what do I truly want? Who am I when no one else is looking? These are the questions that matter. These are the questions that shape your path. So if you feel ignored, don't despair. Let it be a sign that it's time to let go of what no longer serves you. A sign that you're being given the space to grow, to heal, and to rediscover yourself. Trust the process, even when it's painful. Trust that life has a way of putting you exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. When the noise fades and the spotlight dims, you're left with something far more valuable: clarity. And in that clarity, you'll find the strength to step forward, not as someone desperate for attention, but as someone who knows their worth, with or without it. So let the silence teach you. Let it remind you of your resilience, your strength, and your undeniable value. Because when you emerge from this, you'll be unstoppable. When you face the sting of being ignored and felt the weight of that silence, it's natural to wonder what comes next. How do I move forward when the voices of others, the ones I've come to rely on, seem to have vanished? The answer lies not in chasing after those voices, but in creating your own. Being ignored isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of something far more profound. It's a call to rise above the need for validation and to stand firmly in your own power. You see, life is always teaching us something, even in the silence, especially in the silence. When others turn away, it's an invitation to turn inward and discover a reservoir of strength you didn't know existed. This strength is built through acceptance, not of the way others treat you, but of yourself. When you stop resisting the situation, when you stop trying to force others to see your worth, you begin to see it for yourself. And this is a kind of freedom that no one can take away. The opinions of others lose their grip on you, and in their place, a quiet confidence begins to grow. Think of this as a recalibration. The universe has a way of removing distractions when it wants you to pay attention to something more important. It's like clearing static from a radio signal, allowing you to hear the broadcast clearly. The static in this case is the noise of others' opinions, their judgments, and their neglect. When that noise fades, you're left with your own signal, your own truth, and that truth is more powerful than any external validation. Now, moving forward from this place doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world. It doesn't mean building walls to protect yourself from being hurt again. It means stepping into relationships and interactions from a place of wholeness, not need. When you've found peace within yourself, you no longer seek it from others. And paradoxically, this is what draws the right people and opportunities into your life. You'll notice something remarkable. When you carry this inner strength, the way others respond to you begins to change. Those who once overlooked you may now see you in a new light. And those who don't, they simply fall away, no longer able to affect you as they once did. This isn't about seeking revenge or proving anyone wrong. It's about realizing that your value has never depended on their acknowledgement. Moving forward also means embracing the lessons that this experience has taught you. It's not just about surviving the pain of being ignored, it's about using that pain as a stepping stone to something greater. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of silence has been preparing you for this realization that you are enough. Not because of what you do, not because of who notices you, but because of who you are. When you carry this understanding with you, you become unstoppable. You're no longer swayed by fleeting opinions or temporary rejections. You walk through life with a quiet assurance, knowing that your path is unfolding exactly as it should. The detours, the delays, even the moments of despair, they all have a purpose. And that purpose is to lead you back to yourself. So, as you step forward, do so with gratitude. Gratitude for the silence that taught you to listen to your own voice. Gratitude for the pain that revealed your strength. Gratitude for the journey that has brought you to this moment. And most importantly, gratitude for the person you're becoming, the one who no longer waits for others to validate their worth, the one who knows that their light shines brightly, even when no one else is looking. Remember this, the silence, the rejection, the moments of being ignored, they're not the end. They're the beginning of a transformation, one that allows you to rise, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. And when you rise, you'll discover that the world has been waiting for you all along, ready to embrace the fullness of who you truly are. Let that truth guide you always.